Hi everyone, this is Eagle News. I'm Ken Cruz in Washington. It's Saturday, August 12, 2023, here in the nation's capital. This week's stories begin with 4.2 million Americans having been disenrolled in Medicaid. Our Las Vegas Bureau Chief, Anna Cui, tells us what the reasons may be.
Over 4.2 million Medicaid enrollees had been disenrolled since the start of the redetermination period, based on the most current data from 42 U.S. states and the District of Columbia, according to Kaiser Family Foundation, or KFF. This as the Medicaid continuous enrollment provision ended March 31 of the current year, leaving states with the great task of ensuring eligible individuals stay covered. Medicaid is a federal and state program that helps people with limited income and resources to cover medical costs. Some states resumed disenrollment as early as April 2023, while others followed in the succeeding months through July, with Oregon being the last state to do so in October 2023. A wide variation in disenrollment rates across reporting states, ranging from 72% in Texas and South Carolina to 8% in Wyoming, and this is likely due to the differences in the renewal process and systems used by the states, according to the report. Based on all states with available data, the report shows 74% disenrollments are due to procedural reasons, meaning they did not complete the renewal process within a specific time frame. This could happen if the state does not have updated information or because the enrollee does not understand the renewal process. Many people who are disenrolled due to paperwork reasons may still be eligible for Medicaid coverage. A wide variation in disenrollment rates due to procedural reasons can also be seen across reporting states, ranging from 96% in Nevada and New Mexico to 17% in Michigan. As many as 17 million people could lose Medicaid coverage throughout the unwinding period through May 2024, as estimated by KFF. Here in Nevada, since June 2023, over 79,000 enrollees had renewed their coverage. And of those disenrolled, over 3,500 were determined ineligible, while over 85,000 were disenrolled for procedural reasons. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
A wildfire in Maui, Hawaii has destroyed a historic tourist town, killing several people. As the blaze raged through Lahaina town, desperate residents jumped into the ocean in a bid to escape the flames. As of press time, the death toll is almost at 70. And Hawaii Governor Josh Green says he expects it will go even higher. ThomasILikness has a story.
This is what the beachfront town of Lahaina on the island of Maui looks like from the air, just one day after a deadly inferno razed most of the community. And here at ground level, you can see there's very little left of this once thriving tourist town, also home to some 12,000 permanent residents. U.S. President Joe Biden has declared the wildfires on Maui a major disaster, and he's promising assistance.
Anyone who's lost a loved one whose home has been damaged or destroyed is going to get help immediately.
But the help can't come soon enough for people here as they struggle to deal with the aftermath of this tragedy. Lahaina resident Kakoa Lansford is frustrated.
Still get dead bodies in the water floating and on the seawall. They've been sitting there since last night. We've been pulling people out since last night, trying to save people's lives. And I feel like we're not getting the help we need.
Governor Josh Green says 80% of the town is gone. He says it looks like a bomb hit the community. The flames from the wildfire, fueled by strong winds from a nearby hurricane, moved so quickly that many people became trapped in the streets. Some jumped into the ocean to escape the blaze. The U.S. Coast Guard estimates that about 100 people took to the water, but it says it was only able to rescue about 50 of them. Many people like this resident left with little more than the clothes on their backs.
We just packed up what we could in our house, couldn't get much. I left all our pictures, everything we owned, put it in that house.
Thousands of people have been evacuated from Maui, but 1,400 are still waiting at Kahului Airport for a flight to get out. The next challenge for Lahaina will be rebuilding, not only the buildings, but the economy, and that will take years. Many of the 3 million visitors that came to Maui last year made a stop in Lahaina, but now its economic driver, tourism, has gone up in flames as the historic city has been reduced to ashes. ThomasILikness, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In Canada, the country's most populous city reports its first probable human case of West Nile virus. In Toronto, Ashley Sakmar reports.
According to Toronto Public Health, the first probable human case of West Nile virus in an adult this year has been reported this week. West Nile virus is a potentially serious illness that is transmitted to humans through the bite of an infected mosquito, according to the city's West Nile virus webpage. Symptoms include fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, body aches, skin rash, amongst others. They usually start between 2 and 14 days after getting bit by an infected mosquito. To reduce mosquito population that can transmit the virus, the city is implementing rounds of larvicide throughout Toronto, which target basins and stagnant water where mosquito larvae can be found. Residents are encouraged to wear light clothing, long pants, and long-sleeve shirt, apply insect repellent when outdoors, and take extra care during peak mosquito biting hours, dusk and dawn. 20 batches or pools of mosquitoes have been found to be positive for the virus in the city. Because of the hot weather these days, there is a higher risk of infected mosquitoes transmitting the virus. Ashley Sakmar, Toronto, Ontario, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, voter registration for Filipinos overseas is ongoing. This is for the Philippine national and local elections in 2025. Jeff Sanidad tells us more.
The Philippine Embassy here in Washington, D.C. has released an advisory for overseas voters. Voter registration for the upcoming national and local elections in the Philippines is still ongoing. All concerned have until the 30th of September 2024 to file for applications for registration or certification, transfer for registration records, correction of entries in the voter's registration record, and reactivation and change of address. You may file any of these at the Philippine Embassy or at the Philippine Consulate General nearest you. Walk-ins are accepted. An applicant must personally submit these requirements: one printed copy of the Accomplished Overseas Voter Registration Form or OVF1, original and one photocopy of a valid Philippine passport, original and one photocopy of proof of current Filipino citizenship, for example, your green card, visa, notice of action, work permit, or dual IC. For more information, visit philippineembassy-dc.org/overseas-absentee-voting. For more information, visit philippineembassy-dc.org/overseas-absentee-voting. In Washington, D.C., Jeff Sanidad, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Several stories from ThomasILikness today, from lack of rainfall causing a traffic jam at the Panama Canal, to sheepdogs trained against white-tailed sea eagles in Scotland, to dogs riding the waves in California. These and more on Correspondent At Large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. There's no end in sight to climate disasters being experienced worldwide. Everything from too much rain to too little moisture, heat waves and droughts that spark wildfires. The latest victim of climate change, the Panama Canal. A lack of rainfall has created a traffic jam at the Panama Canal. There's a backlog of more than 150 ships waiting to transit between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. To conserve water, canal operators have reduced the number of ships it handles from 36 a day to 32. Most of those ships have reservations, but for those who didn't reserve in advance, well, they have to wait in line, and right now the waiting time is about 3 weeks. This has a big impact on the United States. 40% of the country's container traffic passes through the canal, so expect some supply chain issues in the near future. And the cost of imported goods could also rise if shippers have to use alternate routes that are longer. Now, why, do you ask, does a canal connecting two oceans have a water shortage? Well, a canal lock uses nearly 190 million liters of water when a ship goes through it. That water comes from Gatun Lake, which feeds the canal, not the ocean. An ongoing drought has seen the lake's water levels drop to a 4-year low. A popular tourist destination in Belgium has a big problem. Too many tourists. The city of Bruges says it just can't handle the number of visitors it's getting. The World Heritage listed city has a population of 119,000 people, but it gets 8 million visitors a year. They come to look at the city's medieval buildings and canals and walk on the cobbled streets. Residents say they don't want to see any more tourists. They've reached the limit. Too much of a good thing, you know. Now, they're not against tourism. They just don't want their city turned into a Disney-fied open-air museum. City officials are telling prospective visitors to consider checking out other sites beyond their burg. And if they still want to come, visitors are advised to book in off-peak seasons. Just how many sightseers come to Bruges? Well, it's estimated that daily there are 131 tourists for every 100 residents. That's a lot of visitors. Usually you expect sheepdogs to protect the flock from predators like wolves. But in the Scottish Highlands, an ancient breed of sheepdogs is being trained to guard the lambs from white-tailed sea eagles. Over the past decade, the birds of prey have been implicated in the loss of dozens of lambs. And to ward off these winged hunters, 2 falconers are training Murama dogs. These dogs are an Italian breed that date back to the Roman era. Falconer Johnny Ames says they use a drone in the training.
So the drone comes over, it has a big eagle lure hanging on the bottom of it, and it kind of dive bombs the dogs a little bit, so they don't like that. And we don't do it too much, but we do it now and again, just like say for that purpose.
Ames says they also use a captive white-tailed sea eagle that they have.
She'll feed from a carcass one day in front of the dogs in a controlled environment so no one can reach each other, but it is going to try and show these dogs that the eagle is a predator, and if there is one near the lambs, then you want to scare it off, basically.
Ames says they want to create an environment in which farmers and the eagles can coexist. And not all dogs have jobs. Some like to enjoy their leisure time. Like these surfing canines. It's a dog's life at the World Dog Surfing Championship held recently in Pacifica, California. That's near the San Francisco area. Decked out in custom-made wetsuits, the hounds ride the waves. The competition has several categories: small, medium, and large solo surfers. Then there's the best human tandem and the best multi-dog ride. Well, win or lose, it looks like they all had a doggone good time. And I'll be back in 7 days, and in the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. ThomasILikness, Correspondent at Large, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, here in the U.S. alone, CDC estimates that 1 in 8 women who have recently given birth experiences symptoms of postpartum depression. In a recent medical development, the Food and Drug Administration approves the first oral medication to treat the condition. Russell Faria has the details.
Zuranolone, branded as Zurzuvae, is the first pill given the green light by the FDA here in the U.S. to treat postpartum depression or PPD, with PPD described as serious and potentially life-threatening condition and can also have consequences for the child's physical and emotional development. Tiffany R. Farchione, director of FDA's Psychiatry Division, says having access to an oral medication will be a beneficial option for many of these women coping with extreme and sometimes dangerous feelings. Until now, treatment for PPD used to be just an IV injection given by a healthcare provider in certain healthcare facilities. PPD is a major depressive episode that typically occurs after childbirth, but the FDA says it can also begin during the later stages of pregnancy. It can present with symptoms such as cognitive impairment, feelings of sadness or inadequacy, loss of energy, or suicidal thoughts. Zurzuvae's side effects include drowsiness, dizziness, diarrhea, fatigue, the common cold, and urinary tract infection. For more information, visit fda.gov. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Looking for a cool way to beat the heat? Here's Jane Kathleen with the inside scoop on how a South Texas business owner fulfills his dream of opening a shop that sells bubble tea, exotic shakes, and ice cream. Here's this week's Mind Your Business.
The city of Robstown, Texas, located a few miles north of Corpus Christi, has a population of roughly 10,000, which is currently in decline, according to a 2023 report from WorldPopulationReview.com, with 30% of residents currently living under the poverty line. Despite the city's economic struggles, however, Robstown native Randall Salazar believes investing in his hometown is all the more important. Instead of seeking greener pastures elsewhere, he and his wife Amanda chose to build their dream business right here at home.
It's a small town, often we're overlooked, and some people might not see it as a town of opportunity, but I beg to differ. I'm Robstown proud, been here 30 years, and wasn't scared to open up in my hometown.
Their dessert shop, The Inside Scoop, happens to be one of the first bubble tea shops in Robstown.
We've always loved boba tea and just being a little different, so we got some ideas, and I talked to my lady about it. Ended up getting a trailer, and we would sell ice cream, boba tea, things like that. We would just do it as a weekend job, and it didn't take long for us to see that we were meant for a storefront and that this was going to be something great. So we opened up on February 1st. Business has been great. We get a lot of people traveling through to Robstown or people from the outskirts. Here you can find one of our delicious Hong Kong bubble waffles, our exotic milkshakes, or our boba tea. We also offer venue space in the back for birthday parties, baby showers, graduation parties, etc. As far as some of the items we have on our menu, this one being our strawberry cheesecake exotic milkshake. We have a Cookie Monster one that's blended with Bluebell, Blue Monster, and cookies and cream ice cream.
This is the Cookie Monster milkshake. It has cookies on top and all around. It's really good.
Definitely on a hot day now, we have shaped ice snow cones. As far as this, we're here to stay. We love it. It's an amazing turnout every day. We get these new faces from Canal, Driscoll, Kingsville, and they come and visit, and that's what we love the most. The fact that we were able to kind of make this a little future staple in the community. As long as you have faith in yourself, you're going to be okay. I had a lot of faith in my dream. My lady had faith in my dream. I had faith in her dream. We have 8 employees who help us, some on weekends, some on weekdays. So yes, and once again, I'm very grateful to be able to provide people from the Robstown and surrounding areas that employment. It's an amazing feeling.
In Robstown, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Papua New Guinea launches a national REDD plus safeguards guidelines. The policy is designed to tackle the country's carbon emission, climate change, and safeguarding of forest preservation. In Port Moresby, Echo Hortaleza Quinola on Oceania at a Glance.
The Climate Change Development Authority, or CCDA, in Papua New Guinea hosts the launching of the National REDD Plus Safeguards Guidelines. The 4 Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, or REDD Plus Safeguard Guidelines, launched at the APEC House, headed by CCDA Acting Managing Director William Lakain. The REDD Plus Safeguard Guidelines include national REDD Plus free, prior, and informed consent guidelines, National REDD Plus Benefit Sharing and Distribution Guidelines, and National REDD Plus Grievance Redress Mechanism Guidelines. Minister of Environment, Conservation, and Climate Change, Simu Kelapa, calls the Safeguards Guidelines as a significant way for Papua New Guinea's recognizing, addressing, and respecting people's rights as customary landholders for economic prosperity.
We must be very proud, and we all are proud that we have the third largest rain forest in the world. Diversity, language diversity, cultural diversity, you name it. So I see there big potential. And in addition, let me tell you also why we today like we did this RED Plus 2-day publication. It's like it's just a starting. Now we have more work.
Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
And before we let you go, here's our photo of the week. This is the Sphere at the Venetian Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Sphere is described as the world's most advanced music venue and world's largest sphere. And you can enjoy viewing this new major Vegas attraction for free. Thank you, Ivan Sanchez III, for this amazing photo. And thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics that you want us to share with you, just comment below. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I'm Ken Cruz. We live in extraordinary times. Stay happy and healthy, everyone.